Hey guys, it's starting to be winter. It's getting pretty wet out here in Vancouver. So today I thought I would take you through 5 of the first tricks that I ever learned on a mountain bike. And I guess I would call these 5 easy tricks for beginner mountain bikers. One of the first tricks I ever learned, which sort of happened as me practicing learning how to drop. So the first trick that I want to tell you about is one I don't see too many people doing, and it's called a firecracker. And this is when you go to a set of stairs and you pull up like you're going to drop it, but you go just slow enough so that you kind of just manual down the stairs. And you go down the stairs, sounds like firecrackers. So this is a pretty easy trick, and the good thing about it is you don't need to do a huge set. You can just go to a few stairs. Start off with a curb, that's one step, and then find a 3-stair, a 4-stair, a 5-stair. Just something kind of fun to do when you're riding around the city. So get out there, pull up, ride down some stairs on the back wheel, make some noise, and have some fun. Now, a second trick that I don't see too many people doing, and this is another one probably from my BMX background, is the Xup Ride. Now, you're not doing an X-up in the air, and this is sort of what I did to get used to doing X-ups in the first place, is when you're riding along, you pull up, maybe like you're gonna do a manual or pull up off a drop, you do an X-up, but you hold it. And then what happens is you're riding in the X-up. That's your trick. Sort of a fun little thing to do when you're waiting by the trails. Maybe show off, impress your friends. This is sort of an old school BMX trick. You definitely would see some of the old school street guys doing X-up rides, X-up manuals. It's kind of making a bit of a comeback in BMX even, with a lot of the other old school tricks, like the next one I'm going to tell you about, the crank flip. So here's another fun one. And all it is really is, like the name suggests, you just flip your cranks. So you can start this one off just seated on your bike, flipping the cranks around. Try that a couple times, see how it feels. And then you can just kind of keep going. Stand up, do a crank flip, get a feel for that. You can kind of go a little faster, get used to it. And then when you start to get really good at it, and it actually becomes kind of a cool, a little more serious trick, you work it into the bunny hop. And now you're doing bunny hop crank flips. And I think this is one of my favorite beginner tricks because I think it's pretty easy to get started. You know, you're just sitting down and flipping the cranks around, just doing whatever. And it actually, in my opinion, turns into a pretty serious, pretty cool trick. And I even have a clip of me doing one on the trail. And now I think this is something that if you can bust it out mid-trail ride, I'd be impressed. So get out there, do some crank flips. I think another good one to learn is the rollback. This is something I learned when I was sort of getting into more of like the street side of mountain biking, just about to transition into BMX. But I think it's just a fun trick to learn, definitely helps with your bike skills. And this is just when maybe you go up to a bank, you ride up, and instead of turning around to come down, you just come back down backwards. This is definitely a little more on the tricky side, getting to be a little bit more of an advanced trick, but I still think it's in the beginner realm. It's one of the first tricks that BMXers start to learn. It's something that I would recommend learning if you're trying to do 180, because it's a pretty necessary part of the 180, and you can just have fun with it. And you can actually start to mix in some of the other tricks, like doing a crank flip to fakie, doing an endo and then into fakie. You could do a bunny hop and then roll back. You could do a bunny hop crank flip and then roll back. There's just a lot of possibilities. And I think this is another good beginner trick that's going to help you with your bike skills. I think it's just a cool trick, and it's just fun at the end of the day. So get out there, do some rollbacks, or fakie. That's the other term that I like to use. So this trick I learned sort of in my efforts to learn how to bunny hop, to learn how to lift up that back wheel, and that's the endo. This is one that you can kind of do by just locking up that front brake. You can get in the back wheel up in the air. This is another one that's great to learn for beginners, because when you're out in the trail, you can actually use it. Whether it's getting up an obstacle, pulling up that back wheel, or going around a sharp corner where you need to do a pretty quick pivot, use that front wheel and make the corner. This is one that, again, you can just do in the parking lot. You could do endos, you can mix it up, do endo crank flips. This is another great one that you can just practice in the parking lot. You could just do your endos. You can start working on your endo 180s, which is going to help you learn how to spin. That's also going to help you on the trail, getting around those sharp corners. And then when you're doing endo 180s, you're also working on your rollbacks or fakies. it's just a good one. Probably one of my favorites to advise for beginners to learn because it's pretty fun and you can actually use it on the trail. So it's definitely worth it. So that was just 5 easy mountain bike tricks that I remember learning when I first started, and hopefully you guys will get out there and try them too. So I'll see you guys in the next one.